Another topic to discuss before we get to our Mutineers home series preview is the topic of conversation between a 5v5 competitive Call of Duty versus a 4v4 competitive Call of Duty. Where is this topic coming from? Actually comes from a tweet from Dr. Disrespect. Here's the tweet. We'll show you in just a second. And basically, this is what spawned the conversation that we're about to have here. I said this the first year they introduced it. Needs to go back to 4v4, and map design should be designed specifically for game modes. Doc, of course, used to design maps, so he has intricate knowledge on this. You can't create superstars without the opportunity to create superstar plays that matter. Now, I can tell you that I have asked many people because, truth be told, I started covering Call of Duty this year, and so I don't have too much background covering Call of Duty in 4v4. But in asking a lot of people that have been in the scene for a while, they put more emphasis on the map part of that tweet than they did the competitive, like the numbers. Emily, they basically said, look, it's not necessarily the 5v5 and 4v4. They said, no, we need specific maps for the specific modes. I want hardpoint maps. I want SND maps. I don't want generalized maps, was the consensus that I received. What do you think, Emily?
So I actually also talked to a bunch of people and just to get myself informed, and I kind of formulated my opinion based on that. So for me, it's not necessarily like 4v4 versus 5v5. I actually generally, so like historically, 4v4 is better for highlight plays for a lot of reasons. Just having those two fewer people on the map really changes the way you look at maps, especially if traditionally they've been smaller, right? Because of just the way that sightlines naturally work. However, and this is like comes down to a personal issue that I've had with Modern Warfare. These maps, most of them are massive compared to other previous COD maps, right? Like, you look at S&D specifically, because I think S&D is the game mode where 4v4 versus 5v5 kind of like shows the difference the most. And you look at these massive, these maps with like incredibly long sightlines, like Piccadilly or Arcov Peak, or like, Gunrunner is a massive map. My main issues with a lot of these maps are that they're actually so big, and that would be exacerbated by changing it to 4v4. So if the question is 4v4 better than 5v5, I'd say yes. But for Modern Warfare specifically, I think a lot of the issue is already that a lot of these maps are like incredibly large, and 4v4 would actually make that worse. And like, I'm not even talking about respawn modes, like just looking even at S&D specifically, because again, I think that's where a lot of the, I guess, highlight plays have a little bit more spotlight from broadcast and from observing and stuff. This is like a very convoluted answer, but like I agree that it's more about overall map design and what you want from every specific map than it is about 5v5 or 4v4. And changing it to 4v4 now would actually make a lot of inherent issues with Modern Warfare's maps even worse.
Well, on top of that, not only are the maps large, but with the addition of all of the windows and all of the doors and all the different entryways and entry points, you exacerbate how big the map is by adding 8 billion different entry and exit points of every different place.
And they're all loud.
Yeah, and they're all loud. So it's just, I mean, what it comes down to, yes, I think it's, if you design maps tailored to 5v5, if you designed maps tailored to competition, which is something that IW has very clearly shown a profound disdain for. They have been extremely vocal in their disdain for the competitive aspect of Call of Duty. So they clearly do not care about anything that has to do with CDL. Then you're going to get maps like this where you're essentially forced into this. You're moving to 5v5 last year. You're dealing with it this year, and you have to deal with these maps. could you imagine what it would be like to your guys' point, to Emily's point, if you guys had these maps designed for 5v5 S&D or 5v5 hardpoint? That would be beautiful to watch. But unfortunately, they're working with a developer right now who just simply doesn't care.
Okay, so moving forward, you have control. How would competition look?
I mean, smaller maps.
Right off the rip, I would bring in pro players in the early stages of map development and have them actively take a role and take their opinions. Because right now, usually how it goes is that they bring a couple pros in, they fly them in to try out the game, but they're not really taking their suggestions. It's just to make them feel better. So I would want to very much so see more of an integration of those pro players earlier on in things like map design and gun gun balancing to have them influence things.
Why even bring them in? What, for an ego stroke? I mean, come on. That's ridiculous.
To make them feel like
come on.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, I get it. I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you. I think that's ridiculous is what I'm saying. So 4v4 or 5v5 moving forward, if you had the choice and if you had the power to instill one or the other moving forward, 4v4? Is that
4v4.
Unanimous?
Yeah. If I can make
okay.
if I have the power to make like smaller, more specific maps, 4v4 every time.
And would you make maps strictly specific for game modes?
I would need to determine my opinion on a little more. I want to say yes, but at the same time, I would love to see the duality of maps when they're being played both on a hardpoint or an S&D to just see the different ways the maps utilized. So that one is something where I'd have to like TBD it a little bit.
I think you'd want player feedback on that as well, because again, like I am someone who probably unfairly is always going to lean more towards competitive balancing than casual balancing, but Call of Duty does not have that luxury because it is a AAA title in the West that gets released every year. So I think that another consideration that they would have to take if they're going like competitive map by map by map, while I might love that, that also might not be something that would translate as well to the casual player base that's queuing up to play every day. So
like unless you were implementing,
that would also affect it.
Yeah, like unless you're the developer and you're implementing, I don't know, a ranked playlist.
Whoa! No, that's crazy.
CDL
do that, Katie. What are you talking about?
And maybe you could introduce maps designed for a ranked playlist? I know. Bizarre suggestion from me. Then maybe you could also tie that in, because obviously it is that title, new game released every year, but you could integrate it with the hardcore casual players and make it something that's symbiotic with them and the competitive side. But I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. So
crazy.
Shut up.
This is craziness.
Emily's going to agree with me on this. Maybe we should just go shipment for the rest of the year.
Shipment!
Yes.
Everyone's dying all the time.
It's shipment. That's shipment and kill
absolutely incomprehensible.
Yes, give me cluster strikes and that's what I want.
That's it. Like death spawns. Like you just spawn and there's already 5 people on you. I love it.
Guys from the 100 T podcast, they were just like, Emily, no, why are you like this?
Exactly, yes.